Folks, I want to thank you for joining us today. This is one of Inform's webinars as part of a series. So if you want to you want to keep up and just keep in touch, then make sure you follow along, because there'll be more coming your way. So you've switched on Copilot 365. Now what? And we'll explain what we mean by that in a moment. So I'm Mark Thompson. So we joined by my colleague Vicky Mee. She'll introduce herself in a minute. But what we're going to talk about. So we're going through this agenda. We're going to give you a quick reminder about Copilot and the story so far. Just a couple of minutes on that. We've got a big but there as well, and then we're going to start talking about some no prompt Copilot features, because you've turned Copilot on, and for some people nothing really happened. So we're going to talk about how we can get those people to come along. Then we've got a call to action. And we're going to talk about the sort of people who might benefit from what we're going to talk to you about today. So why don't I hand over to Vicky. Vicky, do you want to take the next couple of slides?
Of course, thanks, Mark. And morning, not morning, afternoon, rather. I'm Vicky Mee. I'm a change manager here at Inform team. So I'll be running through some of the presentation today and hand it back to Mark. So starting with Copilot, the story so far. So in just over 2 years, Copilot's come such a long way, and it's now woven into many of the Microsoft 365 applications that you have. So starting back in February 23, this is when Bing Chat was launched, if you remember that, marking the first public-facing version of what would become Copilot. Which then in March through to May 23, the rebranding begins under the unified Copilot name. Taking us to November 23, so this is when the integration into 365 apps took place. So that means we now have Copilot in Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams, and lots more. And then in April 24, the Copilot Academy is rolled out, and that's to help users learn how to use Copilot. So this is a learning platform built into the Microsoft Viva Learning and offers structured lessons and guided learning paths, which are still available if you are interested. And then that takes us to April 25 this year. So Copilot Wave 2 is released, and that's with a major update to Copilot that introduces powerful new features designed for the era of human agent collaboration. You may have heard of agents, and you may have seen Microsoft have launched what they call the researcher and analyst agent. But you can, of course, custom build your agents for your specific business needs too. So now we move on to the next slide to see that Copilot is amazing, but all this amazing stuff is obviously a rapid change. And as it shows in the quote there are those that walk a quieter path, those that are not resistant to change as such, but they're underserved, they're lacking training, resources or support or whatever it might be to thrive in this new digital era. So we need to look after these people and make sure that no one is left behind. And just in case you're wondering, as you can see, this quote is by Copilot. The prompt I used was simple and simply used in the same thread as the Copilot timeline slide source that we just saw. My prompt was, give me a nice way to describe the people being left behind by this rapid change. So now on to the next slide, we have a look at who, as in which groups could typically be left behind here. Okay, so there are some examples of those that may need more support with the changes, and whilst I'm talking, please feel free to put any other examples you can think of in the chat that might be more applicable to your organisation, even your team, your function. So starting off, we have employees with low digital literacy, so those that may be nervous about using the new features or Copilot in general, or even technology in general. So they would typically need more support, hand-holding, additional training. And then we also have those that are strategy rich but time and prompt poor. So those people could likely, as most people, but they could likely really benefit from Copilot, but it's finding the time to experiment, leading to underuse or misaligned expectations. And then last but not least, we have new starters. So they may have joined after the Copilot rollout, didn't have that structured training perhaps, and they may hesitate to ask questions. So just to summarise there are those that typically need more training, more hand-holding, support, and simply more time to research, experiment, or use the tools. And when I say support, so I keep getting pop-ups, and when I say support, it could be where you handhold, talk them through it, but it's also having someone checking in, talking about Copilot and AI, reminding them it's a tool to be used and it's available for them to support them. Does anyone here think we've missed out on any obvious groups? Mark, do we have anything in the chat there? I just saw some.
Yes, Vicky. So Ewan's talking about AI skeptics, the people who just don't trust it, and I think that's a really good example. And maybe like what we're going to talk about today would be some nice baby steps for them, just to slowly ease them into it. Vicky, there's and Jenny saying those are frustrated because they've seen bad results. For example, AI writing some things that were wrong. That's another good example as well, I think. What do you think, Vicky?
Yeah, definitely. And also, Mark, as you know, you go through some new changes to Copilot, but that can help with this because it's quite heavily reliant on prompting and how you speak with Copilot, but it's always evolving, and Microsoft are always improving on it to help with things such as that. And with the AI skeptics, by experience, I usually get those that they don't trust it. They think their data's going here, there, and everywhere, but that's not the case. It has been built with security in mind, but I believe that's coming up in an upcoming webinar. But just to address some of those.
Okay, Vicky, what do you think about non-knowledge workers who rarely use tech? It's just very, very occasional for them.
Yeah, so I work with quite a few different clients that I mentioned earlier, technology isn't always a priority for, let's say, care staff. They don't often have to delve very deep into technology, and it's not the first thing on their mind. But usually using AI or Copilot in the right way for them can actually really benefit them.
Yeah, I'm just going to wrap up just a couple of quick ones, and then we're going to move along. But what we've got in here, so we've got Mandy's talking about the huge culture change, large groups of people and organisations. Yeah, Ionica saying the risk adverse members. So we've got some stuff for those people as well. Gail saying they're from education. And I've got a 13-year-old daughter, and I'm with you on that one. We have lots of chats about that, and there's lots of challenges at school, aren't there? And then we're reluctant to change because they're worried it might replace their jobs. You're right. So we're talking about how we can help their jobs. So really, really, really good. Some good stuff in there. And the final one is the lack of understanding about what Copilot is and how we can support them in their role. So Vicky, you got anything to wrap up this slide? Anything else to say before we move along?
I don't think so. Just reading through some of those. So we're starting to see some obvious use of AI in civil service job applications. Could be useful for its not complete replacement for writing skills. Yes, so it can't replace your unique voice or your expertise. It's there to support you. It's there as a co-pilot. So that's why it's called Copilot. It can't replace your jobs or what you do in your expertise. So just to make that clear. But happy to hand over back to Mark to talk about what's been changing, and we can go back through the chat.
Okay, Vicky, thank you. So there's and I would say it's associated, what we're talking about is this new emerging trend, more passive, no prompting type Copilot, and I think it's part of this, the wave 2 that Vicky talked about, and they kind of work in the background and they kind of anticipate what you might need. Now, I want you to think about it. I'm going to go through some examples now because I want you to walk away with some actual examples of what I'm talking about. I've got a couple of demos to show you, and fingers crossed they'll go smoothly. I want you to think about the people who don't have time to prompt. They're scared of prompting. They're worried about the using a Copilot to do their outputs, and all the things in the chat. Some great stuff in the chat, and we're going to talk about ways that you could maybe revisit these people. Think about your organization. Go back to these people with maybe a half-an-hour session of those sort of things that I'm going to talk about, and re-engage those people, capture those people, and they can use Copilot in really productive ways without doing a single prompt. And I think what I'm going to show you is going to be a great way to revisit all of those people. So, folks, I'm just checking any questions or comments before we get into some of the new features which I think are worth packaging up, either by app or by feature, and then go back to your organization with. I've got a shaky head. Okie dokie. Okay, let's go and have a look. Okay, so let's look at some no prompt Copilot features, which I think will be great for getting those people back. Okay, our first one is Copilot audio overviews for Word and PDF files in OneDrive. So we've got this new option here. So I've clicked on I've gone to OneDrive, clicked on this icon, and I can generate an audio overview. We're going to look at this in a moment as well. So this will do Word documents, PDFs, and meeting recordings. There's a couple of different styles that you can choose from. So I want you to think about your colleagues. Some that are time poor, maybe they're multitasking. They need to know what's in a file. Maybe they're making themselves some lunch, or they just need to stand up out of their seat and have it. Or maybe they just absorb information in another way. They don't absorb it very well when they're reading it. Okay, so there's usability opportunities here. There's just being sort of really flexible with your time, and this is available now. Why don't we go and see how this looks and how this sounds, because it works so well. Okay, so I've got a file here. By the way, folks, if this is a little bit small for you, in the bottom left-hand corner, you should see a plus and minus so you can zoom in. But I'm going to click on the Copilot icon, and I'm going to say I would like you to create an audio overview.
Hey.
So we're just going to. It just takes a second or so just to get that up. But just while it's doing it, if we hover over this again. If I was showing people this to get them back on board, look at the summarize, create an FAQ. That's great. Do you really understand this document? You can create an FAQ, and there's other things in there. Just one click away that would be super useful for your colleagues. Okay, so we're just waiting for this just to finish. It says it will take a few minutes. It normally just takes a few seconds, but if you look at that already, there's a couple of things in there that you could probably go back to your colleagues and get them on board with. Now, I must confess, right, this is taking a few seconds longer than I expected. As you'd imagine, I've gone through this a couple of times to make sure it works, and we're just waiting for this to come up. And just while that's doing that, folks, I'm just going to pop over here. I'm just going to pop a couple of you lovely folk on mute. There you go. Okay. So this is taking a few seconds longer than I expected, but I'll tell you about the next slide while this is just finishing off. You're going to see this functionality appear in lots of places across Microsoft 365 if you've got Copilot, and it will surface. And I think it's going to be a really good opportunity. And the next slide, I'll show you some other places where it's going to appear. Now, I think I'm going to go on to the next slide just while that's finishing off. And then we'll come back to it in just a tick. So that's available now. It's not available to me right now, obviously, but folks, that's available in your organization. Why don't we look at this? So Copilot, the ability to generate audio overviews of documents, meetings, etc., is going to surface everywhere. Okay, so thinking about OneDrive, Teams, Word, Outlook, notebooks, and if you look in here, so it says generate an audio overview of this document. And we go into it, and here's the options that people have. They can have one person reading it out, which I was hoping to show you, or you can have two people. Now, depending on how your mind works, they both work beautifully. So one can read it to you, or people can be discussing it, which just helps you slow down and really absorb the information. You can have it light-hearted or concise, and then you can do the length as well. And you can have that set up and suited to the way that you work. Now, something went wrong, apparently. I'm going to give that one more chance over on that other screen while we carry on, and then we'll come back to it. We'll come back to it if it does what it's meant to do. I'm going to just give it one more click, folks, and then I'm just going to keep half an eye on it, but we'll go back to the slides, and then we'll come back to that if we get a chance. And I think maybe because we've got...
Hello. Today, we'll explore Microsoft 365 Copilot, a transformative tool that integrates advanced AI into apps like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, and Teams. This audio summary is based on the guide titled, "You've switched on Microsoft 365 Copilot, now what?" which provides insights and recommendations for using Copilot effectively.
Okay, that's a beautiful intro. Some of the options here, you can change the playback speed. So if you're short of time, or you just need to have things a little bit slower, that works really well. But you've got options here as well. You can say, if you like transcript, you can save it, or you can switch to a podcast style.
Hey, welcome to today's overview. We're diving into the fascinating journey of Microsoft 365 Copilot, the tool that's reshaping how we work with Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, and Teams.
Absolutely. It's really something. We'll discuss its evolution from its early days and touch on those neat passive features that seem to just work in the background.
Right.
Okay, it worked. I can't tell you how pleased I am. Folks, because anybody, so we've got Judith said in there a great accessibility feature. Does anybody? I'm just looking in the chat. Anyone else think of a use for that? I'm thinking about a large organisation that I spent 2.5 years with, but 6 months work on Copilot, and I know lots of communities in there that would love this. Just looking in the chat, I love it. Folks, I think there's so much opportunity there. I think there's so many different parts of your communities that would appreciate that. Folks, why don't we go and have a look? So Copilot will create a PowerPoint summary as you open PowerPoint. So you may already see this, folks. So imagine that you've got some of your colleagues who are super busy, or they struggle to extract information out of a 70-page presentation. As they open Copilot, a summary will pop up, and it's worth highlighting this to them, and they can click on view the full summary, and then they can then they'll see a full summary of that. Helps with time. Is it worth you reading the rest of the slide deck? Have you extracted enough information? And who knows, right? So there's people who are a little bit more reluctant. They might even click on that chat with Copilot, and then they might get more involved with it. Folks, that is available now. And like I say, I think there's a comment in the chat about when the features are coming out. There's often quite a window, isn't there? So if I say available now and you haven't got it, it might be that it's going to come anytime for you. But folks, that's a really nice, easy introduction for people to have a look at that. How about using Copilot in Microsoft Word to fix all spellings and grammar in one go? How super fast is that? One click, and you can apply all of those settings. You highlight a block of text, select the Copilot icon, and then it will offer to fix all of those things for you. So that's due mid-May to mid-June, but let me show you where that's going to surface, because I can show you where that's going to appear. And also, I'm going to suggest something else while I'm here. So you can see here, folks, that I've highlighted some text. I'm going to click on the Copilot icon, and it's going to be, let me just expand that a little bit for you, maybe zoom in a little bit. So it's going to appear here, the option to correct all of my grammar. But this is worth pointing out to your two colleagues as well. Maybe some people, they struggle, they've got great ideas. They've got lots to say, but they just struggle with formal writing. So you can rewrite it, make it a little bit shorter, maybe more formal. You can get suggestions. It might be that you got some information there that'd be great as a table. So I think from a leveling the playing field, we've got lots of colleagues who've got so much to offer, but they just can't get it into this formal way. I think this is worth flagging to people. And again, there's no prompting. It's just a couple of clicks to get those people on board. Okay.
Mark, there was a question. Will it fix spelling with UK spellings? That's a good question, because in prompting you have to say you want it UK English, and actually that's quite a good point.
It is. So here's right. So I don't have it yet, and I'm not explicitly ready. When I wrote this update up, it didn't explicitly call it out, but it's actioning these suggestions here. So if I had to guess, and it is just a guess, my guess is it will action the things that it says are wrong, and these are wrong because of little wiggles based on your chosen language. So because I'm generally a glass half full kind of person, I'm going to assume it does it right until it proves that it doesn't. But that is a good question. You are right. Okay, let's just see what else we've got for you folk. Okay, so how about using Copilot to catch up on meetings in OneDrive? First of all, this is definitely worth you pointing out to your colleagues as well. Go to OneDrive, and there's the meeting option there. It's so overlooked, and there's so much good stuff in there. Even without Copilot, for looking at the meetings that are coming up ahead, having a look at the things that are being shared on those meetings, catching up with meetings that you've missed maybe. Now, if you look here, there's a new button. I checked just before the session. I don't have this yet. This new button here, Ask Copilot. So recap the meeting for me. Summarize any shared files. How about summarizing those shared files without you having to open them? So you get a quick overview of the meeting, what was shared. You can generate meeting notes in there. Were you at mentioned? Folks, that is due early to late May, some into maybe into June as well. I don't have it, so I'm going to go the second part into June. But that looks like it's going to be really great. Definitely worth you flagging to your colleagues. Okay, back to a demo. You get lots of emails. Lots of us still get lots of emails, don't we? And maybe you have a lot of stuff that comes to you and it has attachments. Now, so think about the time without Copilot, you'd have to read the email, open the attachments, go through them, see what's relevant to you. Now you can just get your email summarized by Copilot, and you can have it now go in and have a look at the attachments as well. So let's go and have a look at these. Summarized PDFs, Words and PowerPoints, attachments, due mid-May to late July. So you might not have it yet. It's got quite a big window, right? So mid-May to late July. But why don't we have have a quick look at that, because this I do have. Okay, so let me just pop this up here for you, make it a little bit bigger. Okie dokie. So I'm going to click on this email here that I know has got an attachment. Now, at the top, summary by Copilot. So you have that already. Now it's wildly amusing. It says you asked yourself to review the attached slides before next week, and I did. Okay, now what if I've got files in here that I don't have time to look at? So I'm doing this live, so fingers crossed this will go well. So I want it to summarize one of the attached files. So I'm going to say, yeah, I'm going to select this one, and let's just see how it gets on. Hopefully it'll be a bit quicker than the audio, and it will do it, first time. Okay, good. So, and I happen to know that this is right. So it's talking about the different slides and what's on there. So imagine you have tons of work to fly through, or when you're trying to get people back on board with Copilot, give it a second chance. There's this new way of using Copilot. I think this would be a great one just to save time and to get people just using it. And like I said, who knows, they might click the Ask Copilot button and it'll just be like their entry into using a bit more Copilot. That, folks, I really, really like. Now, time to move along. How about this one? So first of all, I need to apologize for this screenshot, this bit in the middle. Microsoft are great at giving screenshots, but I just couldn't get a better one than this. So I'm very, very grateful for what they do give us, but I just couldn't get a better one than this. And in fact, you can probably see that I kind of built the rest of the screen, but I just couldn't replicate this bit in the middle. So forgive me for that being a bit fuzzy. Okay, let's say that Louise, you've come back off you've come back off leave, or one of the people that you're trying to get to use Copilot's come back off leave, and they've got some emails to catch up on. Now, the kind of a bit of a gotcha here is that this lives in the Meet app, another fantastic app, functionality similar to what I discussed to you about in the in OneDrive. So it's a great app. So I definitely encourage people to look at it anyway. But look at this, we're getting some new tabs across the top. So it can create summaries of these meetings and then turn them into one big summary. So no prompting again. I just say I want to catch up on meetings in the last week. I want you to use one host or two hosts like you saw earlier, and what sort of style do I want this to be in? So you can see on the right hand side I've selected some meetings there, and it will generate this audio overview of all the key points of all these meetings. Again, I see myself or see your colleagues multitasking, or maybe just paying focused attention, but catching up very quickly, maybe grabbing yourself a little bit of lunch and just having it read them out to you. How much time would that save? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 meetings there, and it'll just take care of that and just get you up to speed. No, of course, we all know, like we talked earlier about, some people don't trust it. Now, if this was the most critical meeting that your organization's had in the last month, you probably this wouldn't be good enough. You'd go in and check it out. But for just day-to-day meetings, I think this is a great option. Okay. Copilot in Word has got some new document snapshot superpowers. And I think your users are gonna love this. So this is the last one I'm going to show you before we go back to discussing how you might use this. It already does a version of this, but I think people who read a lot of documents, I think they're going to get a whole lot out of this, out of these features. And it might be a gateway for those people who don't touch Copilot. Maybe you look at the stats and you see that some people don't have any usage at all. It might be that you go back to these people and maybe they just don't know what it can do. Okay, so the Copilot summary at the top of Word documents is going to get some new tabs, as well as the summary that you already get. Insights. How about the key documents, numbers which are in the document? You want to draw out all of the numbers and give me some insights into that. Activity. So I was looking at a document earlier, and you know if we put the comments down the side, if you're doing lots of collaboration, right? I'm sure you've all had this where there's so many people commenting, and you're kind of trying to keep track of the comments and what's been answered, what hasn't been answered, what do you need to action, and then keeping track of those. The activity will take care of that for you. It'll just summarize it all and tell you what you need to do. Discussion. Oh, sorry, the activity, that's from what I've last opened, and the discussion is that summary I've just described, the summary of all those comments. So those two things, the activity, what happened since I last touched it, and the discussion, I think those two things are worth a look as well, and also that coaching that will help you develop your documents. Now, late April to late August, really long tail on that as well. I have a couple of these features already, so why don't we go back to our Word document that we saw earlier and see what we've got. Okay. Let's have a quick look. Okay, so look at the top here. I've got summary, and there's a bit of a teaser of a summary. I can click on View More, and right now, folks, even without any of the new features, this is definitely worth your people knowing about. I can change this to brief, to standard, to detailed. I mean, we could go into a lot more detail in there, but what I do have, though, is insights. So let's say that this is a super important document to me. I'm going to click on insights. It's now going to start drawing out the numbers, and the insights it's finding are date related. So I can flick through here. So look at that. You've already heard about this. It's picking out the key dates, the key information. I can whiz through them. Now, how about I need to present this to a director, or someone's got to make a decision. There's a Q&A there, so maybe I can whiz through the Q&A and just make sure that I understand it, make sure that I've answered my questions, and I can flick through here, and I can just double check that my understanding is right for this document. I think that is a really lovely feature, folks, and that's definitely worth you sharing with your colleagues. I think there's all those things I showed you and more are going to really help people. Now, if you go back to your organization, you think, okay, so what would I include in, say, a quick training course or a roundup? Here's some things that I've covered and some I haven't. So those audio overviews in OneDrive, but also across 365, creating that summary as you open PowerPoint, catching up on meetings. How about fixing all your spelling, summarizing email attachments with Copilot? How about getting the multiple meeting feature I showed you? Those superpowers for Word I've just gone over here. And how about some things I haven't shown you? The Copilot continue to Outlook to create a meeting, preparing for your meetings as well. Teams facilitator agent taking live notes. M365 Copilot prioritizing your inbox. That might need a bit of help actually with them. Sharing with Copilot summary. I'm sharing a file. You can click on the Copilot. It will just give a quick summary. When the person's reading, they receive the share. Then they get that. So look at all those things on the screen there, folks. So many things. You can put a great little session together to get those people back on board. I'm going to pause for breath. I'm going to read the meeting chat. Vicky, can I hand back to you for the next couple of slides?
Of course you can, Mark. Thank you for that. Some amazing stuff to come in Copilot. So just a call to action. Sorry, I've run out of time, so I'm speeding that. But what we would like you to do is think of, as we mentioned earlier, who are the groups being left behind that's more applicable to yourselves. Might be those that have low digital literacy, senior execs, new starters. Which features would you like to focus on? So we saw some in the chat saying different bits and pieces are something that would apply better to yourselves. And lots of claps, Mark, on the word, the insight, especially with comments and keeping up with those. So yeah, would you focus on those that you've seen today? And remember, Copilot is announcing new features almost daily. But also you may be at the beginning of your Copilot journey, so you want to figure out the basics as well. And how will you connect your people and the knowledge together? So would that be through communities, drop-in sessions, a series of training sessions, white glove videos, all those options? So as mentioned, feel free to share any groups in the organisation we haven't thought of before. I mentioned earlier about care staff. It might be like frontline as well, because technology isn't always at the forefront of people's minds. But usually you can find a way technology, or more specifically Copilot, can help them with repetitive tasks, or there's loads of scenarios where Copilot can help you and your team. So have a think about those. Is there anything in the chat? I just saw some things come up.
Yeah, there's quite a few bits in there, Vicky, but the last question was about facilitator. When you go into the meeting options, turn on facilitator. It also turns on the transcript automatically. It doesn't need that. So there's a few bits in there, but just a bit conscious time. Just interesting. So Vicky said, has anyone got any thoughts on what you could do with this? I'm just looking at the chat. Maybe would you do a training session? Would you do like a half-hour one for people short time? 1 hour for people who need things a bit slower? Just looking in the chat, if there's any thoughts? Lots of requests for the slides, so we can pick out some of the features. And the recording will be available as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
The feature non-prompt. People are afraid of prompts. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, Veronica, that's I think you just summed it up, right, Veronica. That's the whole thing we wanted to achieve today. We wanted to just go back and look after those people who are leaving behind. We are leaving people behind because we keep talking about agents and all this amazing stuff. But what about all those people who are just a bit like, I don't get it? We should go back and look after those people who are too busy, the people who don't get it, the people who joined our company and they missed it, the people from some of our communities where they struggle with the prompting. We need to go back and look after those people, and that's what you want you to do. Work out how you're going to present these features, package it up, and go back to your people and look after those people that we've left behind. Okay.
And we just heard from Steve, we're rolling out AI guidance to our learners in September induction. Creating podcasts on that Word document guidance will really resonate with our auditory learners. Oh, I love that. That's a really good use case.
Beautiful. Okay. Should we move on to the next slide, Vicky?
Yeah, sure, please.
Louise, did you have your hand up there? I was just checking. Oh, no. Okay. Okay, so let's see what here. So, Vicky, what do you want to say to people?
So as a thank you for joining us today, we're offering you a free 15-minute one-to-one session with us. So you may have questions about 365 Copilot, want to explore how to get started, need some honest advice. So you'll be able to speak to one of our experts here at Inform. So there will be a link. So some people asked about the recording. You'll get the recording, the webinar, and you will have a link as well in your inbox where you can request that 15-minute one-to-one with us. So yeah, just a little thank you from us.
Okie dokie. And also, when you watch the recording, if you take a screen grab of all the features that are listed, paste that into OneNote, right click on it and say extract text. Nice easy way to grab that as well. Not Copilot, but a great little tip for you. Okay, Vicky. So folks, Vicky and I want to thank you for joining us. I know that 35 minutes is a good chunk of time at this time of day. For those of you who need to drop off, feel free to drop off now. We want to thank you for joining in. Also, the engagement, some great engagement.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
You're so grateful, folks, that you took part in the chat. So if you want to drop off, feel free to drop off. Thank you so much for joining us. And we're just going to see if there's any more questions before we go.